Hey guys, as you can see on the board, I put in the interest formula that we've learned in the previous section. Interest is simply our principal times the interest rate times the period. And hopefully everyone has memorized this by now because it is actually a simple formula. Now, sometimes in the question they don't actually give us everything required. So they don't actually give us all these three essential elements, but rather and remember how in the previous section they wanted us to calculate the interest? Sometimes they actually give us the interest, the value of the interest that we have to pay to the bank. But sometimes they don't give us the principal and they ask us to find what that principal value is, so how much we borrowed initially. Now have a look, if you want to calculate what the principal is, we'll have to do a bit of algebra, don't we? Now I'm just going to write it in terms of some pronumerals. So interest I is principal times the rate times the period. We'll just call it N, number of periods, because I don't want to have two P's. Now, guys, you're going to be showing me a little bit of your algebra skills. If I want to calculate what P is, I'll have to get rid of our R and N, don't we? Because we only want P, we don't want PRN. So what do I have to do to get rid of this RN? What do I have to do to both sides? We'll have to simply divide by R and N, don't we? Because we're multiplying, remember the opposite of multiply is divide. So P here will be left alone and we'll simply do interest over our R and our N. Yeah? So a little bit of algebra involved. Easy algebra, isn't it? And so we can say that the principal over here is interest I over the interest rate R times the number of period, which is N, which I wrote here. So guys, don't treat this as a whole new formula to memorize. I would like you to just simply memorize the first one and be able to use your algebra to get the second one. It's very, very simple algebra, so don't think that you're memorizing two whole new formulas, okay? So just utilize the algebra. So principal is interest over the rate times the period. So let's try a question. Jerry paid interest of $600 at flat rate 6% per annum for 5 years. Find the amount of principal that he borrowed. So this question actually gives us the interest that Joe paid. So the interest they paid back to the bank. So it's $600. Now the flat rate, which is 6% per annum, that's the rate, and they're borrowing for 5 years. But they don't give us how much he borrowed, did they? So that's what we want to find, which is the principal. So I can say that the interest is $600, the interest rate is 6%, which I converted into a decimal, and period is 5 years. So let's simply put it into our principal formula. So principal is our interest, see interest is $600 over the interest rate, which is 6%, and our period, which is 5, and we just put it there. And again, just calculate it. You might want to just use your calculator, and it's going to be $2,000. So guys, we are using $2,000 as our principal. That's how much Joe borrows initially that leads him to pay $600 interest. Alright guys, very simple again. It's not a new formula, guys. It's exactly the same as what we've been using in the previous section, just a little bit different. So question 1. Calculate the amount of principal for the loan, which gives us an interest of $2,500, an interest rate of 5% per annum, it's a flat rate, and period is 10 years. So again, all we're going to use is this formula here. Principal is our interest over the rate times period. And our interest is $2,500, our rate is 5%, and our number of periods is 10 years. Again, just calculate it, you should get $5,000. Easy, very, very simple. Question 2. Calculate the amount of principal for the loan. Again, they give us the interest, they give us the rate, and they give us the period in years. And just make sure that these are in the same units. These are matching each other, which it is in this case, so we don't have to worry about conversions. So again, guys, let's use our principal formula because we've got everything that we can put into like this. So our principal is going to be equal to our interest of $1,200 over the rate and the times the period. Just calculate it, $8,000. So $8,000 is what we borrow initially in the very beginning. Question 3, Calculate the amount of principal for the loan. Interest is $360. Simple interest rate is 4% per annum. Now the period is 24 months. So months is going to be a bit different, isn't it? We have to convert it to years because our rate is also in years. Remember, they have to match. So see what I did here, guys? I simply divided the 24 by 2 because there's 12 months in a year. So we simply divide it by 12 to calculate how many years in 24 months, and that's simply 2. So we can say that the principal, this formula here, we can say that the period is 2 years. Alright, and then just put it into our principal formula. So principal is our interest of $360, our rate of 4%, that's a per annum rate, and how many years are we going for? 2 years. Make sure you don't put 24 because we have to put it in terms of years. And just calculate that, you should get $4,500. Pretty simple, yeah? Again, it's the exact same type of conversion we did in the previous section. Now question 4, calculate the amount of principal for the loan. Alright, interest is $360. Interest rate is 3% per quarter. Make sure you have a look at this. It's different. It's not yearly rate, it's quarter. And the period is 6 months. So again, guys, if you have a look at these guys, quarter is the rate they give us and the period is given to us in months. So we have to do some conversions, don't we? Now, do we all remember how many quarters in a year? There's 4 quarters in a year. Quarter is always equivalent to 1/4. So there's 4 quarters in a year. So how many months in 1 quarter? There's 12 months in a year. So if I divide it by 4, it's 3. So there's 3 months in 1 quarter. So to calculate how many quarters in 6 months, we'll have to divide it by 3, don't we? And then you should get 2 quarters. So we've got the quarterly rate, we've got the period in quarters, we've got all matching units, so we can just use our principal formula now. So interest is $360, our rate is 3% per quarter, and our period is also now 2 quarters. They're matching units. So we can just put it in and calculate. It's going to be $6,000. All right, again, conversions was the key aspect of this question. Let's try another one, question 5. And again, guys, if you think you're okay, if you think you're capable, try and attempt this question on your own. It's really good to give yourself a challenge. Now calculate the amount of principal for the loan. Interest is $1,200. Simple interest rate is 2% per quarter. So again, they give it to us in a quarterly rate. And the period is 3 years. So again, guys, these are not matching. Quarter and years, we got to do some conversions to match them up. So again, guys, I keep asking, how many quarters in a year? There's 4 quarters in a year. So to calculate how many quarters in 3 years, we'll have to do some multiplication. 3 times 4, which becomes 12. So in 3 years, it's going to be 12 quarters. So now we've got the quarterly period and we've got the interest rate in quarters. We can just put it into our principal formula, just like this. So interest is our $1,200 over the rate of 2%. And 3 years equivalent to 12 quarters, so that's what we're going to be putting into the period because they're both in quarterlies. So just calculate it, guys, $5,000. That's how much we borrow at the very beginning. All right, that was the principal value.